Man, this show had us all hyped, bringing us back to Westeros and showing us the Targaryens in their prime. We saw dragons, we saw drama, and we saw a whole lot of family beef. But did it stick the landing? That's what we're here to break down. I'm going to give you my honest thoughts on how this series ended and whether it lived up to all the hype. Now let's rewind a bit and talk about Season 1. That first season was like the calm before the storm, you feel me? We saw all these characters getting set up like pieces on a chessboard. You had Rhaenyra and Alicent, once tight as sisters, slowly drifting apart. Then there's Viserys, trying to hold it all together, but low-key, making things worse. And don't even get me started on Daemon. That man was a whole vibe, stirring up trouble left and right. By the end of Season 1, you could feel the tension building. It was like watching a pot about to boil over. Moving into Season 2, I gotta say, the pacing had me feeling some type of way. After that crazy cliffhanger in Season 1, I was expecting things to pop off right away, but it felt like they were dragging their feet a bit. Don't get me wrong, there were some fire moments, but sometimes I was sitting there like, yo, when are we gonna see this dance of dragons they keep talking about? It's like they were edging us, building up the anticipation, but sometimes it felt a little too slow. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's talk about our main players, Rhaenyra and Alicent. These queens were supposed to be the heart of the story, right? But sometimes I felt like they were just reacting to stuff instead of making moves. It's like they were scared to let these women really go for the throne, Rhaenyra especially. After her son got murked, I was expecting her to go full dragon mode. Instead, she's still talking about avoiding war. Come on, sis, it's time to light it up. Wanted to see more of that fire, that ambition. These ladies are supposed to be running the game, not just playing it. We gotta give props where it's due. Turning a history book into a TV show ain't easy. Fire and Blood is basically a Westeros textbook, and the writers had to fill in mad gaps. They had to create dialogue, flesh out characters, and make us care about people who were just names in a book. That's a tall order, and I think they did a decent job overall, but sometimes it felt like they were playing it too safe, you know? Like they were afraid to stray too far from the source material, even when the story needed it. When it comes to the big moments from the book, House of the Dragon had some hits and misses. That scene with blood and cheese? Brutal, but it hit hard, showing us the real cost of this war. But then you have stuff like the Green Council, which felt rushed in the show. And don't even get me started on Rhaenys busting through the floor with her dragon. That was wild, but it wasn't in the book and felt a little extra. It's like they were trying to balance staying true to the source and also giving us those oh snap TV moments. Let's break down how these characters grew over the series. Daemon, my man, was consistently chaotic, but characters like Aemond and Aegon, they got more interesting as time went on. Aemond turned into this anime villain type, which was kinda dope. But then you have Rhaenyra and Alicent, who started strong but felt like they lost some of their edge by the end. It's like the writers were afraid to let them be as complex and flawed as the male characters. That's a missed opportunity if you ask me. Now, when it comes to mixing politics and action, House of the Dragon had a tough act to follow after Game of Thrones. In the final episodes, we got some epic dragon battles, no doubt, but did they balance it with the political scheming that made us fall in love with Westeros in the first place? Sometimes it felt like they leaned too hard into the spectacle and forgot about the subtle power plays. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing dragons light stuff up, but I also want to see people playing the Game of Thrones, you feel me? Visually, House of the Dragon was straight fire. The dragons looked sick, each one with its own style, and Dragonstone? That place was moody as hell, perfect for all the drama going down. The costume design was on point too. You could tell who was Team Black or Team Green just by looking at them. And when it came to the big battles, they didn't disappoint. The CGI was clean and they really made you feel the scale of these dragon-on-dragon fights. It was the type of stuff that makes you go, damn, I need a bigger TV. When we talk about how the ending hit emotionally, it's a mixed bag. Some deaths had me shook for real. Like I knew they were coming, but they still hit different. The way they handled the fall of King's Landing was intense. But then there were moments that should have had more weight, you know? Like certain character deaths felt rushed, or like they didn't get the respect they deserved. I wanted to feel more, to really be in my feelings about what was happening to these characters we've been following. We can't talk about House of the Dragon without comparing it to Game of Thrones, especially how it ended. It's like House of the Dragon was that younger sibling trying not to make the same mistakes as their older brother. They clearly learned some lessons, like not rushing the ending or making characters do stuff that doesn't make sense. But at the same time, sometimes it felt like they were playing it too safe, scared to take big risks. They avoided a train wreck ending, sure, but did they reach the heights of peak Game of Thrones? That's debatable, so what's the final verdict? House of the Dragon had a solid run, no cap. It brought the heat with its visuals, had some standout performances, and mostly did right by the source material. But did it completely blow my mind? Not quite. It was good, sometimes great, but it didn't quite reach that greatest show ever status. It definitely got the Game of Thrones franchise back on track though, and you know what? I'm here for it. I'll be tuning in for whatever comes next in Westeros. It's not perfect, but it's got me hooked, and sometimes that's all you need.